Further ado, I have a lot to get through tonight. I'm so excited that you are all on this call and joining me and here to learn about essential oils, which I'm very passionate about. So my name is Jade Almaleh, and I got started about 4 years ago using essential oils, well, using Young Living, because I was using other oils in very different ways prior to that. And I got started because my younger daughter, Sage, was about 16 months at the time, and she was pretty sick. So she had fevers, and they were unexplained. It was like day 3 or 5 that I'd gone to the pediatrician. They checked her out head to toe. It was my second visit at the pediatrician office. And on my drive home, she had a febrile seizure, just with me and her in the car, which was horrible and scary. And I went straight back to the pediatrician, and they basically looked at me and said, we don't know what to tell you other than let's just do a full blood panel and go straight to the emergency room. Sorry, please make sure to mute yourselves if you're just jumping on so that there's no background noise. Okay, so anyway, went back to the pediatrician, and they said, go and do all these tests at the ER, which we did, and no one could find anything. Meanwhile, my child was still super sick and not well and had fevers for the next 5 days. So they had just said to me, give her some sort of medication every 4 hours. You need to alternate the drugs, basically. So I was doing that, and it wasn't really helping. She finally got better, but I decided that it didn't sit well with me knowing that anytime my child gets a temperature, I'm supposed to be giving her some sort of pain medicine to bring that fever down so that, you know, she wouldn't have a repeat febrile seizure. So I started to research, and I came across Young Living and the fact that there's essential oils, and basically educated myself on the different brands and the different quality, and decided that I need to give these a go. So I reached out to the person at the time who was helping, you know, and I knew about it's actually my friend's sister. So I reached out to her. Her name is Stacy Malkus, who has been running with me and getting this team going and started, and just said, hey, do these oils, could they help with a fever? And she said yes. And not only will they help with temperatures, but they can help with so many other things, from preventing sickness to using them for all sorts of things. And I said, well, that's great, but right now my main thing is just to control her temperatures. And so she said, I totally understand, but truly you want to get a starter kit for your family. It's the best value for money. You can do whatever you want. I got the starter kit. About 3 weeks later, I used the combination that I was told to, which we're going to talk about, but essentially it was just a roller bottle with 1 drop of peppermint oil, 1 drop, to, you know, filling the bottle with carrier oil, which we're going to discuss in a sec. And Stacy helped to teach me where to apply this roller on my 16-month-old. And she woke up from that nap, had a temperature. I used it where I needed to, which happened to be down her spine and around her belly. And her fever completely went away, broke. So I thought, okay, whatever. Yeah, that was a lucky fluke. And maybe she, you know, who knows? So before bed that night, she started to get warm again. So I used it on her a second time, and I kept the Advil outside her room. So the Advil, I live in San Diego right now, but I am South African. So it's equivalent to a Panado and Nurofen. It's just a painkiller. And I kept that outside her room, and I told myself, you know, if my child wakes up in the middle of the night, I'm going to just give her the pain meds because I don't want to run the risk of her having a febrile seizure. Well, I'm also a sleep trainer, so I also sleep train babies. And so my kids have been sleeping through the night since 4 months old. So I know that if they wake in the night, something is not right. So anyway, I said goodnight and left the medicine outside her room. She slept 12 hours and woke up the next day without a temperature. So at that point, I was flabbergasted, wrote to Stacy and said, oh my gosh, you won't believe this. And she's like, let me guess. It worked. So I said, yes. Oh my gosh, it totally worked. She said, yes. I'm so excited for you. I get these messages all the time. This is why I love what I do. And I love this business because it never feels like I'm working. It just feels like I'm helping, but it's not even me. It's the power of these oils, but I'm thrilled for you. So fast forward, my daughter is now 4.5 years old, we have never had to use drugs or medicine on her. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I'm a family that doesn't believe that if my child runs outside and breaks an arm, yes, there's oils that can help to calm her and help with a bit of the pain, but yes, I'm going to go to a doctor and have them put a cast on her and not sit hoping that an essential oil is going to fully heal the bone. So for me, there is a time and place for Western medicine, but how incredible and how amazing to be empowered to be able to use non-toxic, straight from Mother Nature solutions. So I was thrilled with this, and that began my Young Living journey. So I didn't ever think that I would do the business of Young Living. I naturally, by being a mom consultant and helping other moms, you know, everyone asks me, what's good for teething? What's good for colic? What's good for calming? You know, I'm so stressed out. What can I use? I get asked these things all the time. And this was just such an incredible tool to be able to share with others because it works. I remember there being like a teething tablet that was homeopathic, and they pulled it off the shelves because there was something in it that was questionable, and some child had some sort of weird reaction. So not to say that we don't have to practice caution and safety with using essential oils, because we do, but this is why Young Living was set up in the very clever way that it was, which is in a way that you are given somebody to help you and hold your hand on your journey. That is so important. So had I not had Stacy to help me, to let me know how to make this temperature, you know, or fever reducer roller, how to know where to put it on her, and to know that she's available at 9 p.m. when I have a question, I'm not sure if I would have known everything and dived into this. So that is the difference of how Young Living kind of works. Okay, so that's a little bit about who I am and my journey and why I'm so passionate about this. Then I wanted to just discuss very briefly, you know, what are essential oils? People don't always understand exactly what they are, which again, I completely understand. I don't think I knew about 1/10 of what I know now about essential oils. So it's definitely a learning curve, and we all start somewhere. So some of us are more advanced, some of us have had aromatherapy courses, but most of us are right in the very beginning, and I'm going to treat you all as if you're just learning about this, since this is an intro to oils class. So essential oils are the lifeblood of a plant, okay? And what Young Living does is extremely different to any other company, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But basically, if you take a plant that is grown in the right climate, the right environment, it's harvested correctly, it is distilled correctly, you are then going to be able to get an essential oil from that plant, which has incredible beneficial properties. Now, essential oils contain billions of tiny, teeny molecules. And because of that fact, they are able to penetrate our tissues, and they can cross the blood to brain barrier. So for those of you who are very sciencey, there is so much to this that you will love, and we have tons of information on that. But just to let you know, most medicines, most Western medicine and drugs, they cannot cross that brain to that blood to brain barrier, unfortunately, because when you break it down, they are using like a mono structure, meaning it's one thing. Whereas essential oils is on a poly structure, meaning there are many. So it's broken down and essentially goes into our bodies, and our body knows what to do. So the essential oil goes directly to where the need is, works on the need, heals that, and the body digests it as it needs to, and whatever is not needed or not used gets digested up. There's no side effects, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so that's a little bit about what essential oils are. Also, they should smell like the plant they came from. This is so important. Unfortunately, what happened with a lot of aromatherapy is that they placed more value on fragrance and how it smells. And so a lot of the more earthier oils like cedarwood or vetiver, which smell very strong and woodsy and earthy, and some people are like, ew, that's really stinky to me. That is because Young Living does not take out any of the benefits. So what a lot of aromatherapists were doing is over distilling, because the more you distilled, the sweeter or better it started to smell. So for them, it became more about fragrance over benefit. Young Living is all about benefit over fragrance. Okay, that's really important. Then another like great example, and sorry, when I look down, I've got my notes. I'm trying to keep track of time because there's a lot of information I want to share with you guys. Just a little example, okay, Cypress oil, fantastic oil, really good for circulation, fantastic for not bedwetting for little ones at night, and there's so many great uses for cypress oil. But I just want to talk to you about how Young Living distills this particular oil. So it has 280 known constituents, known chemical components to this oil, okay? What they figured out is that it needs to be distilled for 24 hours. So when it's being distilled for 24 hours, you get all 280 chemical parts to this oil. If you distill it for only 20 hours, you actually only get 20 of those chemical constituents. And if you distill it for 26 hours, let's say, you actually get zero benefit. They're all gone. So what Young Living does is they have figured out every single part of this process with each oil that they are distilling. So now a little bit about, why Young Living. That's one perfect example of just one oil and what they have figured out with that one essential oil and how best to distill it. But here are some other things for you. So Young Living does what is called a one-time distillation, meaning that the very first time that they distill that oil, that is the stuff that you are getting in your bottle. So it is called a seed to seal quality commitment that they have, meaning from the times that the seeds are chosen, which are non-GMO and very carefully chosen, till the time that this bottle is sealed with the cap on top, Young Living has controlled every single part of the process. The only time we have third-party people come in are our testers, because it would be very biased to say, oh, this oil's amazing. Yes, this is going to work. We love it. So, of course, they have third-party testers come in to affirm and confirm that what we have in that oil is exactly what we want. Okay? So what does one-time distillation mean? A great way to explain this is, imagine that it's a coffee shop, okay? So I have my first customer of the day, and I have my coffee machine. I pour in my beans, my coffee beans. I put in a filter, and I put through the water, and I run that first espresso that I was asked for by customer number one. So customer one has gotten a one-time distilled coffee, meaning it ran through my machine one time, first time, so that customer has got the strongest possible coffee. It's very potent. Then let's just say customer number two comes in and asks for the exact same thing, an espresso. I don't change anything with my machine. I just add more water so it can run through. So customer number two is getting a two-time distilled espresso, and so on and so forth until I have like customer five, and customer five is getting a fifth-time distilled espresso. Now, that customer could say to me, customer five, who happens to be Michelle, and Michelle says, ugh, this doesn't taste so good. It's like a little bit watered down. And I could argue and say, listen, you asked for a coffee and an espresso. I made that for you, and that's an espresso. So be on your way and, whatever, don't complain to me. But essentially, they are correct that it is a fifth-time distilled espresso. So it is not going to taste as delicious, potent, and pure. So what Young Living is doing is that first time distillation is what you are getting in that essential oil bottle. This is so important because what our essential oils work, right? And also you use far less. You do not need as much as other essential oils. Another thing, just to let you know, is that our essential oils don't expire. Now, a lot of South Africans are going to say, whoa, but I look on my bottle and I see an expiration date. So there is a law in South Africa that you have to put an expiration date on something that is on the shelf. It's a law. But over here in the States, all of our essential oils, where they're actually made in terms of, it's a global company, which I'll cover in a second, but all of these get tested and bottled in Utah in the States because we have all the testing equipment over there. And when ours are bottled, there is no expiration. So the reason for that is a pure essential oil will not expire. So you can actually find essential oils that they were even using in Egyptian times, things like frankincense. It will still work and it will still be good. So that tells you as well, Young Living is very different and there's no expiration. Unfortunately, in South Africa, it just feels like it's untrue because there's a law about they have to put that expiration date. But we know, and I can assure you guys, that our oils do not expire, okay? The other thing is organic. So why aren't our bottles labeled as organic? And the answer is that we are beyond organic, but there is an actual reason for this. So to certify something organic, there has to be standards or measurements as to like get that certification to state organic. So in the United States, it's called the USDA. In South Africa, it's called EcoCert, and in every country, they are different. So this is a global company, Young Living, so they grow crops and they harvest them and they distill them in all different countries. And what's very exciting, by the way, is there is a farm in South Africa called like Amahlandla Amazi. It's not yet open to the public, but it will be. They're still working to get them up to the sea to seal quality commitment. But what I wanted to say to you guys about that is that we cannot put a certification on our oils to say certified organic because it's a global company. So what stipulations or what things might be in France to certify it as organic are very different to what it is in the United States, which is very different to what it is in South Africa. But what I can tell you is that, just an example, to certify something as organic in the United States, the soil needs to be at least 7 years pesticide free, okay? Young Living goes way beyond that and says, no, it needs to be 50 years pesticide free, or it needs to be virgin soil. They then will take that soil, do multiple tests on it, make damn sure that there is nothing in that soil before they even plant crops. So it is extremely tested. So the measures that they take are unlike any other brand that you can think of or get that's out there. So we like to say it's beyond organic. Something else that's just a fun little fact about Young Living is they believe that energy is everything and everything is energy. And this may sound like woo-woo, but it's true. So essential oils have a frequency, it has an energy. So do we. We know this because this is how EKGs or all these things that are testing the brain waves or testing what's going on when we have those tests, it's measuring energy. It's looking at frequencies. So any living thing has got an energy. So we know that if we aren't feeling well, or let's say that someone gets cancer or someone is sick with cold or flu, their frequency or their energy is actually running a lot lower. Something like drinking coffee can actually also lower our frequency. So essential oils have their own frequency, and there are certain ones that have a very high frequency. So not only are the oils fantastic for things like a sore tummy or a headache, or they are also incredible for working, excuse me, with the limbic system. Sorry. So when we smell something, it actually triggers, it lingers in our olfactory system, and then it gets taken to the brain. The brain interprets that, and it actually triggers oftentimes a memory, yes, but it also is stored and memorized in our brain and actually works. So we do get an effect even from smell, but I'm going to go into the 3 methods of use in a second. The point I'm making is if you're feeling low or just down on energy, you can use essential oils to lift you up and to bring you up and bring you back to health, which is pretty amazing. So energy is everything and everything is energy. And what Young Living does, which is so unique, is when you visit a farm, you are not allowed to use foul language. You're not allowed to swear. You're not allowed to be even in like a really bad mood, because they believe that the plants feed off the energy that is around them. So all the farmers within Young Living and the people that work are actually really happy people who love their jobs, and they legitimately go to work really happy with positive, good moods. because they believe that it absolutely transfers onto our plants. So believe you me, no organic company is saying, by the way, a stipulation is your people need to be happy and not swearing when they're out there in the fields. Okay, so Young Living actually insists that their employers are in good moods and not being rude or have a bad energy when they're working around the plants. So these are some of the things about what Young Living is doing that no other company is doing. Another thing is that we are transparent. So we are the only company that owns our own farms or will partner with another seed to seal farm. So if there is somebody who's already growing peppermint, let's say, and it's in abundance, we need to see every single piece of what they're doing, how they're doing it. A huge team of testers and people will go, and then Young Living will decide if they're willing to have a partner farm with that company to make sure that there's no other brokers involved, that it's all very, very clean. So with our farms, and there are many, and they're all over the world, you can visit any of them. Right now, South Africa is not open to visitors yet because they're still not yet seed to seal certified. So they're still working on getting them to that quality. But ultimately, what Young Living does is there's no visiting a Young Living farm where they're saying, oh, you can't go there. That's where we keep the chemicals and the bad stuff, and we don't want anyone to see that. So they have nothing to hide. And this is much like, let's say you were going to a restaurant and you wanted to order a grilled salmon in olive oil because you're on some sort of lactose-free diet, and it's an open kitchen, meaning you can see how they are preparing your fish. So you know, because you're watching, that they've added olive oil and that they've grilled your fish the correct way. So it's extremely transparent. Same with Young Living. They're very proud of what they do, and they have no issues with the public coming to visit. So just so you know, it's extremely transparent. There's nothing to hide. And it's the only company that allows people to visit their farms because they are all owned by Young Living. So for me, this is why I chose Young Living. There are tons of other brands out there. I understand. I used to use some other random essential oils because I just didn't know and understand the difference. But when my child was not well, I knew that I needed to choose and really think about the quality because I was using these oils on her.